to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. The Verona Board of Education passed a resolution at its meeting held on January 8, 2015. The meeting set forth the schedule of its regular meetings, which resolution was within 7 days of passage. The schedule was sent to the Verona City Road Times, the Star Ledger, the Herald News, the Township of Verona, and the Verona Education Association. Postings of this meeting setting forth the time, location, and agenda were posted at the Verona's 6 schools, the board office, and town hall. This posting was also sent to the above newspapers, all SCA presidents, and SCA liaisons. The Verona Board of Education operates under consent agenda format. Any board member has a right to have an item pulled to be voted upon or discussed separately. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions have been made available to the public present. Mr. Elliott?
Here.
Mr. Watt? Here. Mr. Bellino?
Here.
Mr. Eunice?
Here.
Mr. Quatrochi?
Here. Okay, welcome to our work session meeting. We have two presenters tonight, and before we do that, do we have any public comment or question on any agenda items? No? Okay. Mr. Friesen doing a winter wrap-up, and after that we'll have the calls from VP.
Good evening. This winter season, athletic participation increased slightly from last year, including 105 boys and 81 girls for a total of 186 participants. Out of those student athletes, 95 of those students attained the honor roll or high honor roll status. It was also a very successful season, accumulating 107 conference, county, and state honors. Back in January, on January 27th, Brianna DeVrin, senior year, was chosen to represent Verona High School at the National Women's Sports Day luncheon at Seton Hall University. And Ryan Flood was honored at the Mayfair Farms for the National Football Foundation Scholar Athlete Award on March 7th. As each team is required to determine and perform a community service project, our ice hockey cooperative team at Glenridge entailed players working with children in the Special Olympics. Boys track finished in the top 25% of the teams in the state section, capturing 5 places in the state meet. Boys basketball won the holiday tournament for the 2nd consecutive year, and as the number 22 seed in the county tournament, defeated number 11 seed Orange High School. Alex Caslander and Matt Braschi received first team all SEC Colonial Division honors. The team also conducted their yearly shoot-a-thon, raising $500 for the charity Coaches vs. Cancer. Wrestling had another successful season, and with many fine young men competing in the postseason, first team all-conference selections were Paul Scully, who took the 2nd place in the Essex County tournament and 3rd in the districts. Joe Cardasco, Frank Greco, Nick Esposito, and Chris Rogadamo. At this time, I'd like to honor our 2 wrestling champions. Frank Greco, he's come up, our district champion, and Joe Cardasco, our Essex County champion. The girls basketball team finished 2nd in the conference with a 12-2 record, defeated Buncombe Lakes and Park Ridge in the state tournament, and they had reached the state semifinals for the first time in 16 years. Amanda Langen was voted to first team all conference and also became a 1,000-point scorer. Will Amanda please come forward as we have a special basketball for her, commemorating the day. And there's also a replica of that ball in the trophy case by the band hallway, as well as Amanda signed that 1,000-point ball with all the 1,000-point scorers here at Verona High School. This is in that same trophy case. Okay, also concerning basketball, last week I received a call from an official, Mr. Renee Ruth, from the International Association of Approved Basketball Officials, chapter number 33, which encompasses 7 counties with over 1,000 active members. Therefore, believe it or not, making it the largest officials board in the world. He informed me the membership voted Verona girls and boys basketball as the sportsmanship winner for all of Essex County basketball, and he should be here in about 10 minutes to present the banner to us. But first, I'd like to thank the coaches and the players for setting the tone of sportsmanship for all of our fans to follow. And as we always say, the sportsmanship award is just as, if not more important than any championship. So congratulations to all our fans, our both basketball teams and coaches for making that possible. The girls indoor track team won their 2nd consecutive state section indoor track championship for 2nd place, Hasbrook Heights, by a 20-point margin. It was a true team effort with 17 athletes placing. Melanie Egan, Kelsey Adamonte, Sarah Convoy, Mary Beth Grun, Julie Ashley, and Laura Williams set new school, conference, or county state records this year. Melanie was first team all-county in the 3,200. Now looking at the state meet, Julie Ashley took 3 first-place finishes and set 2 records. In the first race was the 400 meters. She broke the Group 1 record with a time of 59.81 seconds. Then in the 800 meters, she actually, believe it or not, collided with an official who wandered onto the track, stayed on her feet, and went on to win. Then she quickly composed herself to get ready for the next event, the 55 dash final. Less than 8 minutes after this bizarre incident with the 800, she stumbled at the start of the dash final that she was running for the first time all season, but she quickly recovered, finished, and then broke the meet record with a time of 7.56. It was this kind of talent that earned Julia the title of Essex County Winter Track Athlete of the Year, and that is a real accomplishment. Julia has already given a verbal commitment to play soccer for NCAA National Champion North Carolina. The girls indoor track team also had the distinction of 73% of their roster is on the high honor roll or honor roll. That translates to 40 girls achieving that plateau. When I call your name, please come forward and receive your championship certificate. Angel Barkley, Jessica Williams, Gabriella Mercurio, Amanda Flores, Colleen Farrell, Captains Kelsey Adamonte, Mary Beth Grun, Laura Williams, and Melanie Egan, and Julie Ashley. Congratulations, girls. Once again, I want to thank everyone for the winter season and everyone's help that made it a successful one. Just a few other items. On this past Sunday, April 14th, Coach Gene Leparati was inducted into the State Coaches Hall of Fame program at the Pines Manor in Edison. In his over 25 years of coaching, he has accumulated 48 state, conference, and first place invitational championships. He has also received 4 Area Coach of the Year honors and 2 County Coach of the Year honors. He is a master coach and is the 4th Verona coach to be inducted into the State Coaches Hall of Fame behind Al Rotella, George Stiefbold, and Bob Graham. Congratulations, Coach Leparati, on this well-deserved honor. Sunday's luncheon, HBW White Horns health and phys ed teacher Andrea Jordan was honored by the National Federation of Coaches as a state winner for her distinguished background, experience, service, and promotion in swimming. And congratulations to her. She was not able to attend tonight, but again, a big round of applause for Mrs. Jordan. Okay, coming up on May 1st, the Verona will play its annual baseball game against Cedar Grove at Yogi Berra Stadium, located at Montclair State University, at 7:30 p.m. Lastly, I'd like to thank former David Gary Grosso, along with the school districts and the town's maintenance and custodial crew for preparing the grants and facilities for this spring season. So thank you again for your attention tonight, and hopefully this official will be here momentarily. Thank you.
Okay, let's do a beefy presentation, Mr. Host.
Good evening. My name is Nick Close. I am a member of the Verona Foundation for Educational Excellence. We are an organization that is here in Verona. We're a private organization. We're a 501c3 organization that collects monies from the community to reallocate to grant recipients, teachers, members of the Verona staff, faculty and staff who submit grants to us. We review the grants and then give money to those teachers who have submitted. So as part of my responsibility as the grant selection committee chairman, I'm here to announce the spring 2013 grant awards that we made this year. This year we awarded a total of 6 grants. The first grant went to Lisa Barillo from Forest and Landing. She's the art teacher. She requested monies for some display boards so that she can display the art that her students create at their annual art show that she has in the spring. It was a grant that we were happy to give for a total of $764. Lisa is a very prolific grant writer as well as a very talented art teacher. We were happy to support every endeavor that she throws at us. The second grant that we approved was to Vincent Perry, who is the vocal coach, vocal teacher at Forest and Landing School. He requested money to support his spring concert specifically for the 4th graders. He wanted to give them a memorable send-off. So we granted his grant request for $300 to help enhance the education of those kids. The third grant that we awarded was to Jennifer Kleineck at who is the media specialist at HBW. Her grant was a request for $1,200 to provide funding for a teacher, for an author in residence, so to speak. Her grant request was to provide an expert in the field of memoir writing, which is part of the language arts curriculum requirement now for the 5th grade. And she had the brilliant idea of recognizing that getting an author in residence into the school is a very difficult thing to do because of the cost, to be able to make sure you have the appropriate amount of contact time. So she came up with the idea and found an author who is an expert in memoir writing to Skype with the students. It's going to be a total, each 5th grade student next year is going to have an opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation through the computer lab at HBW, as well as some lecture kind of formats that are going to be set up. Again, this is through a funding of $1,200 on our part to help make this happen. We're really excited about this. Ms. Kleineck is very good at writing grants, and we're constantly trying to support every endeavor that she throws at us as well. The next grant was for Richard Wirtz, who is a math and computer science teacher here at the high school. His innovative grant request was for $1,128, which we awarded because he's looking to bring the Finch to Verona High School. And the Finch is it's created by Carnegie Mellon. It's a robot that has USB connections to it that allows the kids in the computer programming class to have immediate, authentic evaluation of whether the computer code that they're writing is working. We're really excited about this project because Mr. Wirtz is looking to expand the computer science program. And so we funded a total of 12 Finches, which we're really excited to be able to see how they actually work and hope to see an improvement or an increase in the class participation on the introduction to computer science level as well as the advanced classes. Right now, he's scheduled to be impacting up to 60 students with that grant. The next grant that we gave was also for the high school to Mark Russo and John Eric Burgess, who are the math and physics teacher here at the high school. They requested money to purchase a surveying transit and stand and all the other stuff they needed to be able to provide their students in the math and physics department in a collaborative effort to provide them with an opportunity to teach real-world applications using a tool that was readily available, but kind of out of their purchase order range. We're really excited about this because it's collaborative. We also like the fact that they're looking to make it authentic. They're going to be bringing the kids outside. They're going to be teaching them how to use this, and hopefully the district can put them to use surveying the properties and buildings or something. So that was for $521.98, which we also granted. And the final grant that we gave was to Angela Salisbury, who is the business education teacher here at the high school. She requested $1,412 from our grant, in grant money, which we awarded. Her grant proposal was to bring a piece of software in from a company by the name of Knowledge Matters, which is the virtual business sports application, which is going to be getting used in the marketing class and by the DECA teams here in the district. It's going to be providing the kids with a very hands-on opportunity in a computer-generated stadium kind of environment for the kids to be able to create marketing plans, figure out inventories, manage teams. So it's going to give them kind of a virtual business experience. So she had requested funds for us to help try to attract more students to the DECA teams as well as to her marketing classes and the other classes that she runs here in the district, and we were thrilled to be able to support her. And we're very fortunate to be able to provide a total of $5,325.98 to the teachers in this district, and the only way we're able to do that is through the generous contributions of members of the Verona community. And without their support, we couldn't support the teachers. So if you know anybody who is a teacher who has received a grant, please make sure you congratulate them. And if you find our mailings in the mail at some point, please don't hesitate to distribute. That's what I have to say for tonight. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah, the official from the organization is unable to come. He's stuck, obviously, in the game. So I will present the banner to our basketball coaches here. Eric McElroy, our head basketball coach, and Jessica Del Vecchio, our assistant girls basketball coach.
on to our committee reports. The first committee report we have is education. Education curriculum. We met yesterday, and we reviewed progress on the teacher evaluation system implementation, and more specifically around the staff training that's going on through the month of May for the administrators. There is also faculty professional development that's happening through May, so that we're ready district-wide for this implementation in the coming school year. With that, we also have at the next meeting, I'll let Mr. Forte go into more detail about this, we reviewed a new evaluation form for professional staff. Paraprofessional staff. This is in addition to what we already do for the teaching staff and for the administrative team. The decision was to have a form tailored for paraprofessionals in the district. So we're going to see that at the next meeting.
Right, that'll be on the agenda.
We reviewed the current spring schedule for after-school professional development for the staff, which is normal sort of business practice for us. But one thing to note on that is that in our, as many of you know, we've created what we'll coin the North Essex Consortium, where we've got like school districts working together away from anything that the state mandates, and we've reaped incredible benefit around technology, around some of the staff development and professional development efforts, around the curriculum plans, and a number of other things. And West Essex Regional has now joined that consortium. They called and asked if they could be part of that. So we welcome them in working together, and we're sharing a lot of what we've already done around our core curriculum standards and EBD, etc. At our next meeting on April 30th, Ms. Jewett will give a curriculum update. That's a springtime update, just normal schedule. We do the one update in the fall to remind of what our goals are for the year. In the springtime, we'll recap how those things are going and set the ambition for the coming year around curriculum. So that's the next meeting. She'll be here with her team to do that presentation. The final three things that we discussed are all agenda items for tonight. There's a first reading on the agenda for the assignment of pupils updated policy. We already have a policy around this and changing the wording on it, but we'll go through that. Mr. Forte does his update. That's policy 5120. We have an approval resolution for Blue Planet training that Mr. Forte spoke about in the past, that we are going to conduct here at the school, and I won't steal the thunder about why that would be a good idea for us. The benefit to the district for doing that. And lastly, we reviewed the personnel resolutions that are on the agenda tonight, as well as the staff renewals that we discussed in the conversation. Any questions? All right, let's do athletics.
Sure. Tonight, athletics had an opportunity to meet. We talked about the substance abuse policy. The substance abuse policy states the procedure for students, and the code of conduct states the consequences. We're just going to be focusing on the substance abuse policy for tonight. I brought a couple copies for each of us on each side. I'll just pass those down. Tonight's not the first reading. Tonight's just a discussion on the policy. In particular, there's one change that's highlighted on page 3. It's already turned to that page. It says, and will be subject to the school code of conduct. When I read through the policy originally, it read that if a student, that students can return to school if, quote, alcohol and other drugs do not interfere with pupils' physical and mental health to perform in school, they would be readmitted. However, it didn't directly state that the code of conduct would be enacted. So I just suggested that we put in that line, which was, and will be subject to school code of conduct. We ran it by Strauss Estimate. They agreed. They said it would help it be as clear as possible, and they fully supported the change. So that's just really the only alteration there. Yeah.
So this is still not tackling the 24/7 which we talked about for significant amount of time, right? This is just policy.
We pulled that out. and put all disciplinary things in the code of conduct.
Okay.
That's a concept.
We're not
So
ready.
but you're not ready for that yet?
We're just
Okay,
dealing with
fine.
procedure for right
Just
now.
wanted- okay.
Will we have that before this next school year starts?
Yeah, we're in the middle of a real big undertaking, and step one is gonna be the policies. That's a regulation, so I'm gonna get to the regulations after. The code of conduct comes under a regulation, we're just not quite ready.
Just because Mr. Mullion and I actually co-chaired a
Right.
task force last spring.
But will we have it in place by the start of the next school year?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we've all, have you all seen the document yet?
No.
The code of conduct.
Yeah, but I mean, we have one that's been drafted, we've gone through it, met on it several times, it's gone through several of the committees, so there's definitely something in the works.
Okay.
We're just not at the point for a
You don't want
discussion or
to-
reading on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys in discussion, you want to share it with me? I mean, it doesn't have to be now, but we should do it.
Once we, are done with the, student, substance abuse policy, we're gonna move on to tackling the, code of conduct.
I think what happened was, we have about 120 regulations we have to do. I can fast track this one if people would like to pull that one out. I was gonna do all regulations at the same time, but instead I can fast
Just,
track.
if we get it done by the end of the year.
I'm just a little worried now, yeah, that like it gets to where maybe you're not the second reading for it, so I'll fast track that.
I think we should. I mean, we're like 2 years away from the incident that started the whole snowball roll in the first place, and we still have a substance abuse policy that contains, if we're going to change the substance abuse policy, then where do we go to? Because the code of conduct isn't going to have in it what we need to have in it. And we're lucky in a way that nothing has come up over the last 2 years to put us in jeopardy or to be in conflict with what the policy says. But I think it should be in place before next year, no matter what. We need to do that.
We'll move that one a little quicker. I'm just trying to get the policies under control, but I hear what you're saying. Let's get the regulation done.
Okay.
So I have it on my list of stuff. I'll send it out to you, Mike, and we'll go back and forth on what we want to do with it, okay?
Okay. Are we gonna meet with, okay.
Do you have, I mean, we presented, we had a task force, I don't know if you want the input that we had from that.
Yeah, we already have it drafted, so what we'll do, I just want to make sure that mine and Mr. Munis is the same draft.
Okay.
Once we have that, then we'll include everything.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, I mean, we have met on it before already, when I read through the whole thing and marked it out, we sat down in George's office with, Ms. Lustig and, we had a conference call on it, so there's been various meetings about the code of conduct, but yeah, we should definitely do our due diligence and just, meet again and, get something to the board for it.
Okay.
Okay. Great. The next topic we talked about was freshman sports. Boys and girls basketball will return, will most likely return for winter next year, most likely. This is due in part to a lot of legwork from Mr. Forte in securing support from corporate sponsors. We can't say definitively yet, but we are hoping that we'll be able to make that a possibility moving forward. It would be at no cost to our district because it would be funded through the support of corporate sponsors. We talked about the
Now, before you move on from that, again, my opinion on this is that if you're going to put it back in any manner, shape, or form, it shouldn't be just on a one-year basis. I mean, if we're going to do this, then I think there should be a commitment to do it over a period of time.
That's what we talked about in finance committee.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about in finance committee, that was our recommendation.
I mean, I'm not even defining period of time, but to me, it would prevent a parent from saying, well, I want my kid to play freshman sports, so I'm going to pay for it this year, and the next year you don't have it. I mean, I think we should be.
But the parents will be paying for it.
I understand that, but a 1 year, one and done thing, I don't think is the way we should go on this.
I'm working on securing funding to run boys and girls basketball for 2013-14.
2 years.
For 2013 school year, 13-14, that's 1 year.
1 year.
Now, if I can get people to give us a multiple year contract on a donation, now this is a donation, I would definitely do it, but.
Well, again, the donation is coming from somebody who has a vested interest in it.
No, absolutely not. There's absolute, the people, the main donor doesn't even have kids, doesn't live in town, doesn't have
I
kids.
still don't think that it is something that we should entertain unless it's a sustained program for a period of time. That's just my
Look,
opinion.
here's my thought on it. I agree with you, and I would much rather be able to sit here and say I have a 5-year commitment for this, but I don't. I have a 1-year
It has
commitment.
to be 5. I think 2 is better than.
I know, I agree. Everything's better, but to me, 1 is better than none.
Well, I'm not sure.
So, I mean,
I'm not sure it is, because then you get false hope to kids to say, well, maybe they will, maybe they won't. That's
well,
my-
here's another thing. Look, I mean, it comes down to the fact that if I get it the first year, even though I don't have a contract signed for the second year, I'll get it. I mean, you have to have trust in the fact that I'm gonna get it again. You know, I'm not gonna not get it. I said something in the athletics committee, and I meant that. It will either be me getting it or, you know.
For what?
I'll get it. It's important to me.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Forte definitely has done the legwork to make this happen. If there's, it's been received very well from those who are offering to support it. And so if that's the case 1 year and the second year, and you can see how that can snowball into a sustainable solution for the program.
2 people committed today. I asked 2 people, both of them committed
For 1 year.
for 1 year. I mean, I can try to get them to sign a contract that says I'm gonna give you the money the next year. You know, that would be great. I would really be happy if somebody said, I'll fund this for 10 years, but my strong feeling is that this is something I want to put back and give more opportunity for kids. And if I have a 1-year commitment, it's better than a no year. And I guess that's up for debate among the board.
I'm not sure that it is, frankly, but all right.
No, I hear you, and you know, obviously there's gonna be varying opinions on it. I just feel strongly that, to me, 1 year is better than 0 years.
The DECA trip is upcoming to Anaheim, California. It's the competition finals at the International Career Development Conference. So congratulations to them. The co-op ice hockey with Glen Ridge is up for approval. It's every 2 years, and we've been doing that since roughly 1994, 1995-ish was the date that we were given. And then we have our approval of coaches. Normally, we do this season by season, but we're going to be doing all the coaches at once. I don't believe it's in this one, but it's upcoming, because it's going to give greater flexibility and accountability with students and coaches to work together. So if we approve them all at once and over the summer, the students can work with their coaches because we already approved as part of our school district to work with the students. Yeah, any questions?
So you're saying committee went review the coaches lists, or you're going to review?
Going to review, we'll send them your way, and then we're gonna approve them all at once though. That's the only difference, as opposed to just like doing it season by season. Mr. Morgenroth resigned from coaching wrestling. A committee was put together, and the recommendation will be to the board in May. I would like to note that Mr. Morgenroth has been with us for roughly 13 years and has really built the wrestling program. So we definitely are sad to see him go. We have a couple positions open in sports. It's kind of unique. We have an opening for roughly 25% of our coaching positions in district. They are around boys hockey, boys and girls head tennis, girls head basketball, JV cheering in the fall and winter, and volleyball. And Mr. Friesen had a chance to already speak to the sportsmanship award in basketball as well. Please thumbs up. Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Finance?
Yeah. All right, we had a meeting tonight, short meeting. Once the budget is over with, there's not an awful lot to talk about in terms of finances, unless there's a problem. We did talk about an energy auction. We brought the subject up, I think, at the last meeting, or the meeting before that, where a vendor has come to us with the ability to go out for energy auctions on our electric power. And I think at this point in time, we're ready to recommend it. We should do it on a 6-month basis. There was a question as to the length of the period that the auction would cover. And I think we have the ability to do that for 6 months, and so I think on a trial basis, we should definitely give it a try. It'll save us money in our electric generation.
When you do the auction, do you have to take, if you put something to bid, do you have to take the bid?
No.
You can turn it down and keep what we're paying now.
So just as a suggestion, we might want to consider doing a couple of motions, like do a 6 month and then say, what would it be if they did an 18 month? Just making up the time frame. Only because
I can answer that for you. There's a couple things. One is the majority of our electric are in a co-op. There are about 3 meters, 2 or 3 meters that are not on a co-op. The co-op expires in Christmas. So there's a couple meters that we could do right now for 6 months. Do one throw to co-op. When the co-op expires, we could do a 6 month, a 12 month, 18 month, a 24 month. They give you all that. When you do the auction, it shows you like what a 6 month would be, a 12 month.
so we would get this, even with the few meters that are off the co-op, we would get to see.
For that one, we would just do 6 months, because it's only 6 months until.
To catch them all up.
So everyone's on the same cycle.
No, I understand that, I'm just looking for some visibility into what the rates, how the rates may differ between a 6 month deal and an 18 month or 2 year deal.
It goes down a little, you know, it's a better deal the longer you go. You're hedging your bet.
I just know what the definition of that is.
Like 1/10 of 1 cent.
That's not that, that's consequential.
Well, it is when you're buying 3.5 million kilowatts a year, it adds up to a few dollars, a few $1,000. It's not, this is not a huge savings, but the one that we're talking about right now for 6 months, according to their figures, is $5,000 because of these couple meters that we don't have on. Right now, we pay PSE&G.
We're outside the co-op.
Right, we pay PSE&G like 10.6 cents. We can get it from the kilowatt for like 9.8 cents. And that, you know, adds up to, you know, about $5,000 savings
For 6 months.
for 6 months.
And then after the 6 months expires, we could throw these meters into the bigger.
What we could do is, with the recommendation of the committee, I think is to try to roll all of them either into the co-op or all of them into the reverse auction.
Okay.
See which one's better, and then lock them in for 24 months like we've been doing.
You know, those bid both, get a price for both. of them.
Right, get a price for the co-op, get a price for the, and when you do the reverse auction, there's about 10 companies that bid on it. Oh, and by the way, speaking of reverse auctions, Mr. Quattrochi asked me to investigate something, and the county is looking into that idea of whether or not you can use these reverse auctions for anything. Like we talked
Like
about,
all supplies.
anything, yeah.
Well, give an example.
Like, for example, you need, I don't know, 100 desks, and you auction them off, see who's got the best price instead of going with the co-op.
Like today, if you wanted to buy, I don't know, say we needed 5,000 reams of paper, something, right? That's what we buy.
Well, no, I mean, you can bid that. I mean,
You can bid it, but it's limited to the folks with the state.
The state,
Yeah, it's the contract.
no, not on the bid. You don't have to have a state contract on the bid.
Yeah, but when you go out to bid, you're going out on your own bid, you're sort of running your own paper, right? There are facilities out there now where you can go to a company who does exactly what these guys do for the electricity, and then they'll nationwide. They have suppliers set up for all kinds of
Okay.
sorts of things that we purchase.
It works, and it's gonna save us some money. We're gonna try.
No.
That's what the counting is,
Okay.
if we can demonstrate that we can buy stuff cheaper than what the state
Contract.
machine lets us do, why shouldn't we be allowed to buy it cheaper, right?
Okay.
Right now, what's it, Consumer Affairs? Consumer Affairs is given the permission to do reverse auctions for electricity and power, but not for the other things, as of
Which
yet.
is why we can do this one, but we can't do
Let me ask, now, who's the auction, the company that does that, do they get a commission?
They get a commission.
From
the
who?
electric company.
From the electric company. So that's built into the rate.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
But it still saves us $5,000 after the commission. It seems like a worthwhile thing.
All right. Okay. We also talked that the district will be undergoing a complete physical asset inventory. We haven't had a physical asset inventory in about 5 years, a complete one. And also, the company we're going with will provide us with documentation which Ms. Nardino can then input right into our accounting system, which is really almost the main reason for doing this, because we keep getting the reoccurring audit recommendation from our auditors that our accounting system does not interface with our fixed asset system at the present time. So this will allow us to do that, and it's gonna cost us $6,000 to do it, but we haven't had a physical audit in 5 years.
Right, now this physical audit, if I remember this right, when this first started to come up in our audit, this is where the state says we have to do some form of gap accounting, right, in order, which specifically for depreciation sort of purposes on fixed assets, but we get no depreciation on any fixed assets as a public school.
Right.
So we have to spend $6,000 to do an audit to
Yes.
show depreciable assets that we do not depreciate.
Well, this is,
Well,
this has been my argument for 10 years, when they went to they changed the accounting methods, and they developed this audit form where they break your financial statements down to business ventures and non-business ventures, and we're going out and developing depreciation for no apparent reason. Depreciation is only used for tax purposes, we pay no taxes, so why are we doing this? So
It's the same thing, like there's a liability on the balance sheet for what's called compensated absences, so that if we go out of business, we owe the staff their sick and personal days, and it's like $1 million. What?
You can't go.
Exactly. But you have to report that.
You have to talk to the brain power that thought that one out of the page. The other thing is that there's really a resolution of the next meeting to sell a van. We have a maintenance van that we no longer need, and it's past its useful life, and we'll have a resolution to put it on for sale, which we'll take bids on that. Is that what we normally do? And the other thing is this subcontracting services resolution, but it's not on tonight's agenda.
Yeah, it's number 8.
It's number 8?
Yeah, on finance, it's the last one.
It is? Oh, okay. I was looking for that long print.
You know what, that will be in the minutes, and
Okay.
then I'll send a certified resolution.
Well, I didn't see it. I have to see it. I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm
Now,
sorry.
this was on the subcontracting of maintenance services and food services, going through the legislature that they want to combine it into a county-wide contract as opposed to individual contracts. And of course, we oppose that at this point in time.
So, just to go back to this fixed assets thing, can we get a call into either the county, I'm not sure who it would be, it's CUSAC is gotta be, CUSAC is the state, not the county, right? So they've alleviated a lot of the CUSAC regulation on us, because they realized after a couple of years they're getting zero benefit out of all this work that we have to do every year. Around, we call it 90% of CUSAC is now gone away, effective last year. That was allowing that to go away was something that the state said they were going to, it was part of a program that they had to sort of evaluate, what I'll call, for lack of a better term, silly sort of legislation, right, that poses a cost on folks. Can we ask them about this fixed asset thing? Like, this is $6,500 that we pay every time we have to do it, right?
Well,
It's a one-time.
this is a one-time thing. You don't have to do it every year. This is
No,
just
we don't have to, we have to do it periodically,
periodically, yes.
right? So, we've done it at least once before.
Yeah.
12 grand?
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, why don't we just ask the question of, if there's no benefit to it, would they consider alleviating school districts from having to do it? It's just, I can understand having an inventory of your assets, so in case something goes missing, you know about it.
Right.
This is an accounting.
Is there a rule that says it has to be done by a certain firm? That's,
No,
so in other words, you could hire a temporary worker to do it?
you wanted to.
Is that legit, or?
Well,
If I'm back to the world where we're coming up with ideas that makes it just a little bit less painful.
Yeah, I know.
The number I'm looking for is
Zero, right, instead of 6,400.
Not like a negotiate.
I was looking to see if they could do 1,000.
Yeah, like negotiating it down to something that doesn't hurt as much is
Right.
just as
Still
simple.
painful, yeah.
but what you're really paying for is the ability to calculate the depreciation, because that's kind of a complicated thing.
Sure.
And you can't really take somebody off the street who knows how to do that. So you're gonna get this firm to do that, to put in your audit report, which means absolutely nothing to the district.
Right.
Nothing,
It
zero.
doesn't mean anything to you.
No,
I
okay.
mean, the order just checks that you did it, but the numbers don't mean it. So all I'm saying is, why don't we reach out to the folks that, it's not CUSAC, whoever it was, I forget what part of it.
It's our,
Well, it goes beyond the state, because the accounting standards board has some input into that, and it just, I don't know that the state of New Jersey has the ability unilaterally to do away with that, because they do take advice and consent from the general, you know more about that as CPA.
Well, and part of the reason why it has to be done is because of your Dun and Bradstreet rating. And that was really why they moved towards GAAP and having an audit performed and then documented so that you could get your ratings, so that it equalizes you with corporations. That's why I don't think you
The
could
600 school districts in the state, we spend almost $4 million doing this. Just saying.
Bigger districts is paying a lot more than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I agree with you, but I don't know that we can do anything about it. And that's all I have at this point.
B&G.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. B&G did meet and really received an update on a number of items. Track replacement, we talked about that earlier, and engineering work and bid documentation is ongoing. We need to get that approved as soon as possible so that we can begin the work in late June or early July, and hopefully having that completed over the summer. The local government energy audit, the LGEA, that we've talked about as well, is finally taking place. The kickoff meeting is on April 30th, and they predict an 8 to 10 week timeline to complete the audit and submit reports to us. The once again, this seems like it's all housekeeping right now, but the set of 5 doors that I talked about a while ago throughout the district, should be they're in the process of coming in. They should be installed by the end of April. We're coordinating that with building principals to schedule that. And as far as work on the referendum, work has begun on the aspects of the schematics, scope of the schematics, and also DOE submittals. So that work's ongoing as well. So really just an update on what's going on across the district.
So can we spend a minute and just make sure that we're all aligned on the sort of events and therefore the timeline on this planning around a referendum for what we need to remediate the building. So today, our next meeting is the end of April 30th, right? So EI is saying that they'll have their report back to the board sometime in late May or potentially early June. That's when we'll get it back. Now, what that'll be the results of their evaluation of all of the remediations we gave them to focus on, plus whatever else they determined needed looking into. We'll also have, in the coming weeks, the French Verona results for the field itself. So that firm is taking care of the field bit, and we've got the EI on the rest of it, and then internally we're handling and EI is handling the security facilities, right? And then we've also got technology coming in as Europe.
Technologies from Promedia, that's already been, that report's been given to EI, who includes it into the.
So when we get the EI, we'll have the technology via Promedia into EI. EI will have the building remediation and the security remediations or recommendations. We'll have, and then the French Bureau bit on the field. That's all going to come together sometime between, call it middle of May, middle of June, somewhere in that.
Before the end of the school year.
Before the end of the school year. We're going to be challenged on the timing of our board meetings and quality time and all that, right? So assuming that we get this in our hands publicly at the beginning of June, that's still what I would define as raw form. That's a whole series of recommendations that adds up to some number, and it's up to the board then to engage the public somehow, board time, work with our administrative team, pull the divot in the company, and determine what of that we choose to put into a plan versus scuttle, right? We could probably come up with some recommendations through the summer.
Yeah, we have a July meeting, right? We have
a July meeting, we have
August.
committee meetings,
Yeah.
etc., right? To communicate with the public through the summer is going to be challenging.
Right, I mean, realistically, that's step 10 before we really get an opportunity to do that.
Right, so does it make sense to folks if we sort of set our sights on being ready to do public meetings come fall, come September?
That would make more sense.
That's what we would do.
Yeah.
And then we should consider or think about, once we get the reports in June, we should start thinking about some time frame on what window of time would we use to educate the public on what the dilemmas are, what the remedies are, et cetera, because we need to get out of that phase and finalize what gets submitted to the state, so that the state can do their math, they have to approve the plans, we have to go through the costing, that the state goes line by line, this much per square foot for this sort of a thing, and all the rest, before we can schedule, or, hopefully get a schedule on a referendum ballot day. And there are certain days, Joe, you sent a note, it was 4 days or 5 days in a calendar year?
I think there were,
Six.
there were 4 special elections strictly for conduction, but you could also tie it into the general election, you could also tie it to the former school board
So we'll
election.
do an April election, and we can use the April
They
date.
can use the April election also.
Right, okay. So we just gotta be conscious of the time frame and the timeline of what has to happen, the effort and focus we'll have to get the public engaged and educated, go through some tours, make sure that we're making the right decisions on what's in, what's not in, what's out, et cetera. Come up with some size, and then off we go to the races.
I mean, no small unknown in this is how long the state takes to approve your plans. I mean, you have to have drawings sent down there, you have to have, it has to be soup to nuts kind of a thing, and how long they take to approve it is really an unknown, and in some cases it's an extended period. So you need to be careful about being optimistic about even doing this by the middle of the winter. I mean, we may be talking about the earliest of spring. I mean, I don't want to say no, we can't do it in the middle of the winter, but the way Trenton works, you can't be certain of that. So I think that we need to take that factor. EI should be able to give us a better feel about how things are moving through Trenton now in terms of approvals. Because they do this every day, we do it once every 10 years. So they give us a better idea on that.
Right, okay. All right, great. Anything else on BG?
No, that's it.
All right, so the superintendent report.
Okay, security update. We have, we've had some problems with the camera and intercom in the high school. When the camera and intercom have some type of an issue, we replace it with a person. And the person is a substitute teacher. We explain to them what they should do, ask the same questions. And we're trying to work on getting the problem solved. It's a little bigger problem than just the camera. It's actually the door that's causing the problem. So in the interim, while we're trying to work out a permanent solution of how to fix the door and fix the camera and fix the buzzer, we have a person there. Today I met with the chief. We went through.
So the purpose, so the person that's there is not a security.
No, the
The
person
person
is
that's there is essentially a human camera.
exactly in lieu of our technology.
And just directs the person, the visitor, to the office. That's what the person does.
Exactly. It wasn't something additional. It's just that our technology was broken, so we replaced it with a person temporarily. I met today with the chief. We discussed a plan that we were going to have a meeting, just so you know. I sent you guys an email today that we had to postpone it. We'll reschedule it. But we want to have a meeting, an ad hoc committee out of the board and a couple of parents and things like that we have in our community with the chief. Talk a little bit about where we think we should go with security. I emailed you a long thing today, so you would just be able to preview it. But we will reschedule that meeting. It's just, right now, it's pretty tight on in my calendar as well as everybody else's, so it's probably gonna have to push into May. So we're gonna reschedule that. The reverse auction we talked about. I'll talk a little bit about the school report card because it came out, and we are going to have an update by Ms. Jewett on April 30th. One of the things I really would like to specifically point out is the way that the state picked out the grouping, the comparison group that they use. It's a new way that they do it. We've been doing it a different way for several years. We used what they used to use, plus we added our own things. Now they really don't have like a logical set criteria to get into a group. They basically force 30 schools together based on one of 3 criteria. It would be number of LEP students, that's limited English proficiency, number of students that are in special ed, and number of students that are eligible for free or reduced lunch. So we're grouped in with those. Our methodology we felt was a little bit more, actually not a little bit more, a lot more sensible. And our methodology had to do with the size of the school, the configuration of the school, the geography, and the demographics. So this is a new grouping that we're forced into. One of the things that also I'd like to point out is, for example, on the state report card, our HESPA for language arts was in the 96% of the students had it. But in our new group that the state gave us, we have a peer percentile of 13%. And why does that happen? Because if you look at it, the difference between being in the top, like the top of the group and the bottom of the group, can be 2 people passing the test, or 3 people passing the test. So, right. So in other words, if right now we're the second from the bottom in our group, if we had 5 more kids, we'd be the top of the group. So because everybody's so jammed in between 96% and 100, the data is really, I think it's not really very worthwhile. It's pretty worthless.
One of the things that our friends from Glen Ridge pointed out was that because of the way Mr. Forte said the peers are identified, so English as a second language, free or reduced lunch, and percentage of students that are special education, it's not those 3 criteria. It's any one of those that you share with another school can make them appear. So, for example, we have very limited, if any, free or reduced lunch.
We have 0 right now.
So another school with 0 free or reduced lunch qualifies to appear for us. One of them that we just eyeballed in the list has half the percentage of special ed students that we have in the population. You talk about small populations, especially for us, 160 students maybe that take the HESPA. And this other school has half of the level of special education students that we have in that mix. So there's lots of things that could skew the score. Even with that, the number of students in any one population is very, very small for schools our size. That would swing you. So to his point before, in just about every indicator, to go from they have significantly lagging our peer group. What's interesting about that is 2 things. If based on our scores, we would be considered high or average against other schools, right? Based on who the peers are. So we recommend that we continue the school report cards. School report cards.
There's valuable data in it too. It's just there's some things that we're not.
The valuable data in it is centers around indicative data, like you get good transparency to see. For example, one of the things they score you on is AP. So we get to see our AP and everybody else's AP and percentages, which you can get some good information from that. But the most important thing, I believe, is who are the peer groups. And the single most defining indicator of who's a peer is socioeconomics, first and foremost. That's my belief. So factor group I's are factor group I's. They have very similar demographics. And remember, factor group I defines not only the economics or the income level of the community, but also the level of education of the parents in that community is what goes into determining the factor group. Number 1. Number 2, that the schools that we compare to are K-12 schools. It's the case in some of our peer groupings where HBW Middle School, because that's what we have in 5th grade housed, finds themselves as a peer group to Alpine Elementary School in Alpine Borough in Verona County, because they share some English as a second language characteristics. I point out that in Alpine Borough, the cost per pupil spending is $11,000 per year per student more than we spend for students in Verona. So to me, you got to look at the size of a school district and the configuration, because then the economics of running the district are the same. So the socioeconomics, the size and configuration of K-12 and this many students gives you an indicator of what your budget looks like and your spending behavior looks like. And the last thing is your proximity to Essex and the surrounding counties, because you get different demographics and different cost structures elsewhere in the state. One thing that they did improve from the early version of this, the piloted version of this, is they no longer mix what I'll call
Limited schools.
open public schools like Verona, where if you're a resident of town, you come to Verona High School. What they were mixing were select acceptance schools. So schools where you had to qualify to get in were most of our peers. There was about half of our 30 peer groups were selective admission schools only.
With 0% special education. So,
So
I did have a long talk with the person in charge of this at the DOE, and she did get back to me the other day when I saw her down in Rutgers, and she said, you know, I did tell her I was happy that they took those magnet schools out. I mean, I felt like that was really not something you could compare. One other point I wanted to point out about just 2 quick data points that they used. One was, according to the state, it looks like only 37% of our kids take the PSAT, but they don't take into account the free PSAT that all of our students take. So some of the data is deceiving. We want to get out and explain that the things that we feel are deceiving or incorrect, we have to get our point out there.
I think there's one school in the peer grouping of the PSAT that 100% of the students take the PSAT in some other school, but that particular school mandates it and pays for the test for the students to take. So,
some high schools give the
we can do that.
PSAT during the
We can do
school.
that. We can do those kinds of things too, and not necessarily, you know.
So again, Ms. Jewett will update the public and the Board of Ed on the curriculum initiatives on April 30th. A little update on our advertisement program. We're going to move away from using the company starting now. We are going to start doing it on our own. Just realized that the majority of getting it done really came through me, and we're moving on our own. So the first ad that we have on there with the patch, that's our first ad on our own without the company. And this was an amicable separation with the company. They didn't feel like it was working out great for them either. I feel like a lot better about it now. We are moving on some more corporate sponsorships. Well, I'd like to just highlight the fact that the Cozen partnership did pay off, and for the month of March, they'll be donating $1,000 to VFI from 5 cars that were sold in town. They're also going to donate $1,000 to Caldwell's Education Foundation. That was the deal that we came up with. Sold 5 cars to people in Caldwell, and that's for that month. So we do have cars again for April. So it looks like a pretty good partnership with them. The Cozen's also going to be the lead sponsor of the May 1st baseball game at Montclair State. We also are working with a corporate sponsorship with Chaitin Tutoring Center. They're an advertiser. They also want to be a sponsor. And another thing I just worked on the other day was with Bella Gente. It's a restaurant downtown on Bloomfield Ave, that they would like to start a cooperative agreement where they donate money for dollars that are spent in their restaurant back to BFI as well. So I'm working on finalizing that. The assignment of pupils policy that Mr. Quattrochi referenced is the thing that we spoke about, where it allows us to use other factors in placing students, mostly efficiency. Meaning, if you get to if you have your class sizes set in one school, and students move in that may have to go to school A, and that's going to drive up, say, their second grade numbers into the high 20s, we would be able to let the parents know that the student's going to have to go to a different school. And that's really for efficiency reasons. Now, we've talked about this a few times as a board. We've talked about it in committee. We've talked about it in public. Now, your first reading of that policy, that's the change tonight. The second reading will be April 30th. Questions about that at all? I know you guys, everybody's been pretty okay with it.
Question is, what if that parent has a second, has a second child, and that second child isn't a problem in that school? So
I would allow
the
them.
family.
Well, I would allow them to do that if they wanted to. If they wanted to have the 2 children in a different school, or
He's
try to
asking
come in.
he's asking the opposite. What happens in the event that you have a challenging class size of a grade? You want to move that student out, and that student has a sibling still in that same grade. You want to break
Right.
the community.
Well, what we have is, it says on a case-by-case basis that the superintendent will make decisions, so I'll use my best judgment on that. And work with the people to accommodate them as best as we can. I mean, it comes down to the fact of whether or not we're gonna hire a teacher and split a class when we have plenty of seats in a different school. So I'm gonna have to work on it on a case-by-case basis, just like we did in the past in Heights. But I think it's something that we're gonna have to move towards. Not only is it a efficiency issue, but what you're doing is creating big discrepancies.
Well, the only thing I would recommend is, and I didn't read the policy, so I have to admit to being it's not on really what the policy says, but I think there should be an appeal process and maybe it goes without saying, you have a decision made by the superintendent. If a parent, if you do that, if you say, well, I'm going to do it on a case-by-case basis, but I'm going to send this student to Lanning instead of, or going to Brookdale instead of Lanning, and they have another student there, that if that's your decision, they ought to be able to appeal it to the board.
Don't they have the right to appeal everything?
I don't know.
Everything? Like, if they don't like my decision on something, they can appeal it to you anyway, right? I mean, if that makes everybody more
Well, I
comfortable.
don't know. And then you put us in a position of having to make a decision against our policy. If our policy says that you make a decision, do we reverse that? I mean, the policy's a policy.
The board can always make exceptions.
I'm just concerned about splitting families. That's the only thing that bothers me about it.
Your concern is, right, I would be too. I mean, and I understand what your concern is. It's definitely something that we would factor into the decision making. If everybody feels more comfortable with that and adding something like an appeal process to that, I would just find out if appeals processes are accepted anyway, there's no reason to put it in policy. It would imply that policies that don't say that.
Yeah, the other thing is that we've been instructed by our attorney on previous matters is that really shouldn't go against your board policy. I mean, you can if you want to, but you set your policy aside and say, well, I know better than what the policy says. And I'm kind of uncomfortable with that, because that sets a precedent. We do it for, and we've been pretty good about not doing that, frankly. I can't remember any where we said, well, let's throw the policy out and let's do what we want to do. So if the policy says that it's his decision, and we have to live with it, and we have to have a parent who's got a problem. So I have a problem with that.
In the past, we have done this without having a policy on it.
Right. Which is.
So we're just trying to
Right.
formalize the process.
Right, because it comes to the point where you're saying, I'm either hiring a teacher or I'm not, and it's a pretty expensive proposition, right? So we don't want to have something contradictory in our policy. Obviously, it might not make people happy that they live across the street from one school, they have to go to a different school.
I just put the policies to formalize the contract.
Yes.
Right, that's what it was. I did it with consultation with two attorneys, our attorney and,
It doesn't change it, it's always been up to the discretion of the superintendent.
Right. It just really put into that wording of efficiency.
Yeah, we have no families being split at this point. So I mean, at this point, we're just going to continue with what we're doing and put it formally. So I would say let's move forward on it.
How many times have we done that? How many times, in the past, since we've been on board, how many times have we done that?
I can't answer that. I can tell you that a couple of times I've done it.
You have done it?
Yeah, I mean, like, we got close to it, and we said, it always works out, so I can't say that we had to push the issue. So, in other words, somebody says they're gonna move in there and they don't move in, or another kid moves out at the last minute and there's a spot. So I can't say I've ever pushed it where we had to do it. But we were close a few times and we told people, that, we might not be able to go to the school, we'll see how the numbers play out.
I mean, I understand the economics of it, but I just, the wear and tear on a family who has to go drive to two schools. I mean, it happens now when you have one student in middle school, one student in elementary school, you're doing it all the time, but what if you have three, now you gotta go to two elementary schools and one middle school, and now you gotta go to three schools, so, and that may happen anyway. You might have one high school, middle school, and elementary school.
We actually even have a bus route that comes around, and, we have put kids on the bus route for people that had, some kind of difficulty. So we allowed them to go on the bus route. So if we could do it, we would do that. I don't want to split families at all. That's not the goal of this. It's really just to be a little more efficient. And also to try to alleviate some of the inequities. When you have one school with 26s, 25s, and another school across the street that has 13 kids in a class, it's creating these inequities that I think we have to try to eliminate. The Blue Planet thing is the workshop I was speaking about. It's really an amazing offer that Mr. Hoogturp is offering the district. He's willing to come in and train anyone that we have in public speaking. I'm going to invite the whole board. I'm inviting college presidents. The fee is waived if I invite them. He's inviting people too, and he's going to donate all the money that he gets from it back to the school. So not only is he providing probably a $5,000–6,000 worth of service and buying everybody lunch, any money he makes on it, he's not going to take and try to like wipe away his fees. He's going to donate it back to the school. So it's really an amazing offer that he's given us, and he happens to be one of the world-renowned speaking coaches. It's a great thing. So. I went with him to one workshop, and I have a 3-day one in the city. Really amazing man. We did have another thing that came through finance. Joe, you want to speak about that with the donation? Lanning? Okay, so we have parents from Lanning SCA. Do you want to come up and talk a little about it? Sure, because I know you came and you might have wanted to say something. Okay, great. Just say your name and your address.
Hi, good evening. I'm Joanna Breitenbach, 14 Winwood Avenue. I am the co-president for the Lanning SCA. And the Lanning SCA, based on a recommendation by the teaching staff and the teachers and the staff at Lanning, would like to make a donation on behalf of Mr. Albano in recognition of his years of service to Lanning School and the Lanning families. The donation would be 2 benches that would be placed out in the ball field for anybody to use. They would also incorporate a plaque with a dedication to Mr. Albano. And the value of that would be $1,204 for the purchase of 2 benches, which would be 8 feet long, and they would also match the current like picnic type tables that were purchased by the 4th grade farewell committee last year.
Nice. It's on the agenda for approval from the full board on April 30th. And another buildings and grounds issue. Do you want to talk about it?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So there are 2 other issues that are going on that I'd like to just speak about quickly. One thing is that the boys and girls rooms in the high school, we have 1 girls room, 1 boys room open, and out of 5 stalls in the boys room, 2 are currently working properly, and the girls, out of 6 stalls, 5 are working properly. These are mostly due to the fact that we have no isolation valves that are working properly. So we can't do it, we have to shut the whole building down. So we're waiting until spring break next week to shut the building down, install some isolation valves so that if we ever have another problem, we can work on the bathroom without shutting the entire building down. And we're also going to, at that time, make the corrections to the bathroom that we have there. We no longer have a plumber on staff, so we do have to use an outside plumber. There's also an issue with some insects in VHS. We're having problems with the clogged drain. The clogged drain has been corrected. The situation seems to be a little better, and I haven't heard anything else about it recently. But a couple preventative measures we're doing. One thing is we are going to ask the students clean out their lockers this week, take all the things out, bring it home. We're going to, over the spring break, our custodians will clean all the lockers. Our pest control companies, Alliance Pest Control, will be on site to do whatever they think they have to do. We have to work within the IPM guidelines, integrated pest management. So we use our experts to tell us what to do. they're gonna come in and they're gonna explain this to us. Another thing that we did was we informed all the parents about this on Friday with a letter in the Friday folder. So if you have questions, it was in last Friday's Friday folder, trying to be out there and correct the situation as quickly as we can.
Any questions? Okay, let's do our resolutions.
Resolved that the board approve resolution number 1, which is the minutes, and personnel resolution number 2.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Ian, seconded by Mr. Elliott. Any questions or comments? Ms. Bolton?
Mr. Elliott?
Aye.
Mr. Dubois? Mr. Galino?
Yes.
Mr. Yunus?
Aye.
Mr. Quattro. Resolved that the board approve education and special education resolutions 3 and 4.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Elliott, seconded by Mr. Yunus.
Mr. Elliott?
Aye.
Mr. Dubois? Mr. Galino?
Yes.
Mr. Yunus?
Aye.
Mr. Quattro.
I'm gonna abstain on number 3 and vote yes on number 4. The reason I'm abstaining is, just want to make sure I'm not violating anything by saying yes to something that I might attend.
Yeah.
But then we'd all abstain.
So I could just do it with a verbal okay too. I just wanted to be transparent and show that there's a gentleman that's offering this and he's gonna donate money back.
Yeah, so just,
Be positive.
I would just,
We could eliminate number 3 if you like. I think everybody's okay with doing
I
it.
think we're okay with doing
I
it.
think they were doing it, yeah.
It's just one of those, this is one of those pitfall sort of resolutions when, if we don't need a resolution, then let's not do it.
Then I'm gonna change the resolution for the next time to accept the donation, because we have to accept the donation.
Or why don't we just reword it now to say acceptance
You
donation?
wanna do that?
We would need a dollar amount to accept the donation, right?
The problem is we won't know the dollar amount until after the event. We can accept the donation of the service, right?
Let's do it this way. Is everybody okay with doing this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can always
Unless
do-
you just say that the board approved the Blue Planet training, that one is one. Leave it at that.
We can do the dollar amount sometime in the fall, when we know what it is.
All right, so we're taking out the second 2 sentences then. Just the board approved the Blue Planet training, which is what?
It's
For one day.
Mr. Hooter is going to do this big workshop for people, but there will be outside people coming in, so that's why I really wanted to have the board's meeting.
Okay.
All right, so we're voting on just the first line of number 3 and,
Right.
hold roll it.
Mr. Elliott?
Aye.
Mr. Dubois? Mr. Galino?
Yes.
Mr. Yunus?
Aye.
Oh, Mr. Quattro. Sorry. Resolved that the board approve co-curricular and athletic resolutions 5 and 6.
Move, so moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Elliott, seconded by Mr. Lino. Any questions or comments? Let's hold roll.
Mr. Elliott?
Aye.
Mr. Dubois? Mr. Galino?
Yes.
Mr. Yunus?
Aye.
Mr. Quattro. Resolved that the board approve finance resolutions 7 and 8.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lino, seconded by Mr. Yunus. Any questions or comments? Number 8. I understand, and this is how this is working. The full thing that we're going to file is a whole page version of this, with all the detail.
And that'll be in the minutes.
That's what's going to be. Okay. Pass roll on.
Mr. Elliott?
Aye.
Mr. Dubois? Mr. Galino?
Yes.
Mr. Yunus?
Aye.
Mr. Quattro.
Aye. Okay, and we're going back into private session after public.
Yeah, so then we'll bring it up.
Any, open up to any public question or comment?
I have a question
It's
about,
up to-
oh,
Just give me your name and address.
Dean DeVivo, 26 Laurel Court. The insects that we are speaking of,
Roaches.
the roaches, thank you. I think that if you put it out there, insect family or not, this is what they are. So this state mandates certain sprays that we are not permitted to use. I know that you've just said that you haven't heard of anything recently. However, just Friday, there was a huge issue that took place at the high school where one actually came out of a girl's lunch, during lunch.
So, let's talk about that. It's been going on for a number of weeks. I think we're talking
Years,
about years.
right.
Well, there was a problem with some drains that were clogged, that was festering problem in the last couple of weeks. That drain, call it the drain, sort of
Mhm.
catalyst,
Right.
that's been fixed.
And for the past couple weeks?
No.
No, how long has the drain been broken?
The drain was clogged and we fixed. We fixed that drain either the end of the week before, most likely the end of the week before.
But it's been not just a couple weeks. I mean, this has been taking place during football season as well. I mean, the football locker room had roaches, and that's not just a couple weeks ago. That was during weight room back in last May. So this is obviously a problem that's not just because of the drain and I understand that perhaps children leave food in their lockers but we're not talking about just any insect. I mean, I don't know about how anybody else would feel about having any roach brought home, but when your children are bringing food into the, schools and their clothes into the locker rooms, I don't want to hear that, well, we're going to spray them with a little bit of friendly chemical. I want them gone, which I would imagine that most people would. So what exactly does the state give us to not, hopefully, or alleviate the problem, but get rid of it altogether?
What we do is we have our pest control companies, a new pest control company called Alliance Pest Control. They have experts in this field, and they come out and they guide us. They're the ones who determine whether or not you fumigate or any of that. But if we do fumigate or if we do spray any chemicals, there's a noticing component, there's a school closure component, and then there's a cleanup component. So it's a pretty big process. Not that we wouldn't do it, but we are guided by the professionals and experts in the field, and we go by their recommendations of, will it actually, by doing that, by spraying something, is that just to appease everybody, or is that actually going to fix the problem?
Exactly.
That's the problem.
And if
We don't want to
it's
just
a problem,
appease
you're
people.
never closing the school. I mean,
Well, we are closed next week, so that's why.
but that's just for the assessment of what they'll tell you, what the state will tell you
No,
to
the
do.
assessment's over.
Assessment's done.
It's going to be actions. If they feel like we should spray, they're going to spray. If they don't feel like we should spray because that's just to appease everybody, then we're not going to do it. We want to do whatever we can to get rid of the problem.
This is why there was a notice to empty all the lockers when they go for break, so this way the person will want to take it out. So when they come in to do however they're going to spray it
Right.
next week, they're doing that while the school's closed and person.
And that's enough time for, as you said, the spraying, the cleanup, the whatever chemical.
An entire fumigation of the school would take about a week. And that's not what they're right now recommending. They're talking about like a localized spray in the areas that were affected.
When it comes to the bomb, I think everybody would want the bomb. Zero question.
Absolutely.
State law prevents us from using some chemicals. We have to abide by that.
And so then they come in, they spray, and we have them again. Because as I said, this is not a clogged drain issue.
Well, that's what they're telling us, that it's coming from the drains.
Coming out of the
Okay.
drain, that's what
They're coming out of the
Okay.
drains. So
Alright.
even if you fumigated the whole building and eliminated every possible roach that was in the building, they're coming out of the drain, and they go in at night. I'm learning about this stuff too. I'm not a roach expert, but I'm learning as I go.
I am too, clearly, because there are, pictures everywhere. I mean, they're there. To me, if they're there, if they're visible during the day, you have an infestation.
We're 100% committed to getting rid of the bugs.
Okay,
There's zero, right?
okay.
The choice is close the school now during school days, or fix the drain, which we did about 2 weeks back, and then schedule these guys to come in when school's closed, and give the students enough notice to say, please take all your things out of the locker and bring them home, because we may be spraying God knows where, when these guys come in next week.
And then what is the time frame after that before we decide whether or not they're completely gone or just controlled? Is there a time frame?
In other words, if you keep saying them,
Mm-hmm.
well, then obviously they're still there, so we have to
Right.
play phase 2, whatever that is. But again, I don't want to speak out and say that they're spraying. I'm only saying that they're coming to tell us what to do.
Okay,
They're gonna come in and with some management of how to treat it.
okay,
But
thank
if we
you.
do it, we have to tell you, and there's a big process to it.
You can't just spray, it's gotta be some kind of notice that's allowed publicly, it's gotta be advance notice, you gotta close the buildings for a certain period of time.
And that's what I'm saying. So you're not spraying this week because you have to inform us. They're just going to tell
We
you.
have to inform you if you were gonna be around, so because the school's closed, no one will be.
Go on, if you want to look on our website, just go on the website to the home page,
Mhm.
click on central office, scroll down to business and buildings and grounds, you see a whole thing on IPM, Integrated Pest
So
Management.
for example, if we were gonna spray in the weekend, right, well, there might be some event going on, the school's not in session, that would be a form of notice. Since school's closed, the students are not gonna be here, that's why we scheduled for that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anybody else?
Actually, we still have to let them know that the school's not open.
It's just, but that's it, but nobody's gonna be here anyway.
Right. And how we'll let them know will be an email.
Okay, so we have one more resolution to go back into executive session.
Resolved that the board meet in private session from which the public shall be excluded to discuss the topics of negotiations and personnel or potential litigation, which private discussion is being held pursuant to Section 7B and 8 of the Open Public Meeting Act. The matters under discussion will be disclosed to the public as soon as final decisions are made and voted upon. All in favor?